Yes, sir. Welcome back to the Dropping Dimes podcast. And for today's episode, we will be talking about the Chicago Bulls. Okay, so before anything else, let's play a little game called Simon Says. So when I say Simon Says, please do it, Simon says, like the video and share the video. Okay, if you did, if you're done, good. Simon says, comment your thoughts. Okay, so if you're done, good as well. And finally, Simon says, subscribe. Click on the subscribe button. And Simon says, hit on the notification bell. Yes, sir. So if you're done, let's all give you a round of applause. Okay, and you can also give yourself a pat on the back. or a pat on the back or a pat on the shoulder. Okay, so let's now proceed. Okay, there you go. So for today's episode, we'll be talking about the Chicago Bulls. Again, if you want to follow the podcast, you can follow us on Anchor, as you can see here on my side. Yeah, there are exclusive episodes there. Yes, we released a new episode yesterday. You can also follow us on Facebook, Dropping Dimes by J.I. Dimes. And then you can also follow us on Instagram. Just search Dropping Dimes by J.I. Dimes as well. And also on Twitter. Just search Dropping Dimes podcast by J.I. Dimes. Now, going back to the exclusive episodes on Spotify and Anchor, we just released. I don't usually talk about local hoops, but then I just felt compelled to do so because of all the hate that our young players are getting. So I hope you can check that out. It was more of an advocacy episode for us to, appreciate our young players and not hate on them. Appreciate what they're doing because they're not just doing it for themselves, but also for the country. So shout outs to Kiefer Ravena, Ray Parks, Kobe Paras, and Kai Soto. More power to you guys. Okay, so again, let's now proceed. Okay, so this is what are the main storylines for the Chicago Bulls? They have Zach LaVine. They have Wendell Carter Jr. They really have a pretty solid young core if you're going to think about it. LaVine, Wendell Carter Jr., Kobe White. Of course, he was their lottery pick last year. Had a decent rookie season. They have, of course, Lauri Markkanen from the 2017 draft. And then they also still have Otto Porter Jr. So that's a pretty solid young core right there. Then in the 2020 draft, even though a lot of people were surprised, but they drafted the very athletic Patrick Williams at number 4. They also added in free agency Garrett Temple and also former lottery pick Noah Vonleh. Okay, and then their biggest, one of their crucial additions for the season, they also have a new coach in Billy Donovan. Okay, and they also have a new GM, by the way, before I forget. Yeah, so they also have a new GM. So let's now look at the numbers of the Chicago Bulls. So they won their last game of the season. They were only like 11th in the Eastern Conference. They had a very bad record, 22-43. No one wanted to play for Jim Boylan. Sorry if I was just being honest. And then, well, I don't know. Maybe for Bulls fans, finally, the Gar Forman, John Paxson era ended already. Some of them are happy. You know, I'm not so into these things, but if the Bulls fans are happy, then okay, I'll be happy for them. Okay, now let's go to their numbers. 27th in the league when it comes to points per game. Well, what's the silver lining? They were 14th. And when it comes to their defense, you know, their opposition points per game, 14th in the league. Very, very good. The their pace, 16th. Not bad, you know, that's decent. But again, the problem is their offense. 27th offensive rating, defensive rating, they were 12th. So very good defensively. Their expected win-loss last year was 26 and 39. They were not able to reach that target. But in spite of all the losing, just like with the New York Knicks, the Chicago Bulls still ranked 4th in attendance. Just like the New Yorkers, the people from Chicago just simply love their Bulls. That's why even if they weren't winning, they were still 4th in attendance. So this will be the schedule of the Chicago Bulls for the preseason. They will play the Houston Rockets, who I'm pretty sure will not have the beard James Harden when the Rockets play the Bulls at the United Center. And then Billy Donovan will play his former team at the Chesapeake Energy Arena. Okay, when his new team, the Chicago Bulls, face the OKC Thunder. Now let's go to their key additions. Okay, so these are the key additions of the Chicago Bulls. They added former lottery pick Noah Vonleh. Has been a bust thus far. You know, hasn't really found his niche in the league. It's bounced around. And then Garrett Temple. You know, he's not a star, but he's a very good glue guy. Good veteran addition for the Chicago Bulls. They also added former Laker Zach Norvell Jr. And as for their draft picks, they have actually 3 rookies. Patrick Williams, the 4th pick in the draft. Marko Simonovic, I don't know if he's coming over already. You know, from what I remembered from the draft, he's a draft and stash. So he might not be playing this season yet. And then they added former Kansas Jayhawk Devin Dotson, who went undrafted. And their new coach, Billy Donovan, former OKC Thunder and Florida Gators coach. Now let's look at their key returning players. So for their key returning players, we have Zach LaVine, Lauri Markkanen, Kobe White, Otto Porter Jr., and Wendell Carter Jr. That is a pretty solid young core right there. And then you add a vet like Thaddeus Young or Thad Young. And then Chandler Hutchison was also a former first-round pick. He's still with them and still developing. Thomas Satoransky, a very underrated player. But, you know, he's a tall point guard, 6'6", 6'7", point guard. Very productive as well. He can also play the 2-guard position. They still have former first-round pick Denzel Valentine, former Michigan State Spartan, and also Ryan Archie Diacono. Yeah, lo and behold, Archie, who people thought would just have a very short career in the NBA, is still playing in the NBA and is a very productive backup point guard for the Chicago Bulls. So congrats to Ryan Archie Diacono, the former Villanova point guard. Okay, let's now go to their team stats. Okay, so these are the important team stats for the Bulls. Again, the main problem for them is their offense. They were only 27th under Jim Boylan, but Let's focus on the good things. They were number one in steals. That's good. Defensively, they were really solid. You know, that was really the thing for them. But when it comes to scoring and even their rebounding, they were like 29th, not so good. Of course, if you're not scoring a lot of points, you can expect that your assists are also pretty down. So they were only 23rd in the league. Of course, our field goal percentage wasn't good at all. 22nd in three-point percentage, 26th in field goal percentage. No wonder they only won 22 games. But at the very least, when you look at their defensive numbers, they were pretty decent. 14th in the league when it comes to opponents' points per game. Then when it comes to 3-point made by their opponents, they were 4th. That means they were really guarding the 3 well. Same thing as with the percentages, 12 in 3-point percentage. So not offensively, but defensively. So that means they could really guard the 3. Though they were not guarding in terms of the field goal percentage, they were only 27. But they're still, looking at it, that's still good enough. What is ironic, though, is that they were as good as their defense was. They were only 28th in blocks and 24th in... No, they were pretty good in steals, but then in the blocks, not so much. Okay, so let's now proceed to their advanced stats. Focus on the offensive rating, 27. Well, not surprising at all because, that was the problem last year. And then defensive rating, pretty decent at 12th. That's good. Top 12 in the league defensive rating. You ought to win some games. Well, they did win some 22 games. And then, of course, just a show of support from the fans. They were still 4th in league attendance. Okay, so let's now focus on their player stats. Okay, by the way, thank you again, as always, to basketballreference.com for all the updated stats. Basketballreference.com is the way. Okay, so let's now go to the player stats. So for the player stats, Zach LaVine was balling, 25.5 points, 5 boards, 4 assists, 1.5 steals. Can't ask anything more from the guy. 38% from 3, 45% from the field, 80% from the line. But he practically has no support, though. Lauri Markkanen, well, only played 50 games, 15 points per game, 6 boards. Seems like after the solid rookie season of Markkanen, he kind of plateaued a little bit. I'm getting worried that maybe this is really just his ceiling. He only just shot 34% also from 3-point distance, which is, kind of worrisome. You have to be worried in a way because Markkanen is supposed to be a shooter, right? And then Wendell Carter Jr., he only played 43 games. He was done for the season after the injury, but he was putting up a decent second year. He's only 20 years old, 11 points, 9.4 rebounds, and 0.8 blocks. That's not bad. As I've said, Kobe White had a decent year. That's a decent rookie season. Okay, average rookie season. Or above average rookie season, 13 points per game, 2.7 assists, 3.5 boards. He had some good games, but he also had some bad games. That's the reason why his percentages are quite low. They already lost Chris Dunn. They still have Thomas Satoransky. As I've said, can play either the point guard position or the 2-guard position. So very versatile. Had a decent year, 10 points per game, 4 boards, and 5 assists. Now let's go to Otto Porter. This is not what you want from your guy who's getting paid lots of money. You don't want him averaging only 12 points and playing only 14 games, right? So that's the problem. So the problem is no one also wants to get Otto Porter Jr. And then my guy here, Ryan Arcidiacono, found a way to stay in the league, even though the numbers won't blow you away. But he just does his job well, as a backup point guard. Okay, so let's now proceed to the next one. So we're done with the player stats. Let's now go to my thoughts and predictions. Yes, sir. So thoughts and predictions for the Bulls. They won 22 games last year. They now have Billy Donovan as a coach. This is the first time that Billy Donovan will coach a team wherein he doesn't have a future Hall of Famer to bail him out. I'm not against Billy Donovan, but it's just that he's had Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, Chris Paul, right? But let's see, maybe Billy Donovan can really, this is his chance to prove that he can really coach in the NBA. I have never questioned his ability to coach in college, but he's always had the advantage in OKC. He had the long-term deal, and he had guys like Durant, Westbrook, right? And then they even got guys like Oladipo, then had Paul George. I mean, he always had loaded teams. Last year, they still had Chris Paul. So this year, it would be a challenge now for Billy Donovan. I don't really know what they're trying to do here. They're obviously just trying to rebuild, right? Trying to make sure that these guys, these young players, continue to develop, etc. You don't want seeing them regress. That's the worst thing that you can have when you're trying to rebuild to your young players. Now, are they really, or will Zach LaVine be open to again being part of a team that ain't winning? Or it's not going to be winning. So I think it's simple what I'm driving at. My thoughts about them is that they're a young team. Yes, they're moving towards the right direction. They have a new GM. They have a new coach. Let's just hope the Bulls play hard. That's the only thing you can expect from them. I don't expect them going, to the playoffs, nor expect them to be winning more than, 25 games? So I think for them to have a 30-win season will already be an achievement. But more or less, the range is from 22 to 26. Okay, more or less, that would be the wins that I think they would be getting this season. Okay, and I'm being very nice, because it's only a 72-game season. So that's it. I think that my only thoughts is that the young players that they have, Billy Donovan has to make sure that they develop and not regress, okay, or plateau. So let's now proceed to our shoutouts. Bilis lang po. Quick shoutouts only again to Gifmo PH. Thank you, Hoops and Els. A solid podcast as well. Many thanks also to our main sponsors, Snuggle Moments PH. And of course, Yo and Yes. Many thanks as well to Love and Inspire. Okay, we would also like to thank, or I would also like to personally thank Uncommon Jerseys. Very supportive. These are our friends on Instagram. And then we also have Shine Sport 2. Thank you as well, Shine Sport 2, for always supporting the podcast. Thank you as well to Antito Heat. Who else? For the shoutouts. Of course, Sports Daily News. They're incredible. These guys, Sports Daily News, incredible. City Clothing Company. Check out their page. I just really love seeing the posts, and also from Pinnacle Supply. For City Clothing, sometimes they post these funny videos and nice. And of course, T-shirt Printing Manila. Thank you always. For all the best designs, T-shirt Printing Manila. And then, of course, thank you as well to Esquina, Cebu, and Lex for all the Bellylicious lechon. Okay. And then, of course, before we leave, if we played Simon Says during the first part, let's play Simon Says again. So Simon Says, like and share the video. If you're done, Simon Says, comment your thoughts. And finally, Simon Says, hit on the subscribe button and smash also the notification bell so that you can follow all the videos of the Dropping Dimes podcast. And if you're done, a special round of applause for you. Okay, so that's it for our episode today on the Chicago Bulls, part of our team preview series. This is J.I. Dimes. We'll see you on the next episode of the Dropping Dimes podcast. Keep safe, everyone. Bye, guys.